Today, let's discuss a significant legislative development in Indian labour law, namely, Equal Remuneration Act 1976, which was enacted to replace the Equal Remuneration Ordinance, 1975. An act to ensure that men and women workers are paid equally and to prevent discrimination against women in employment based on their sex, along with related matters. The Article 39 of the Constitution of India, as part of the directive principles of state policy, mandates that the state shall strive to ensure equal pay for equal work for both men and women. In 1975, the President of India promulgated the Equal Remuneration Ordinance. The Equal Remuneration Ordinance, 1975 was an urgent measure aimed at giving immediate effect to the constitutional promise of equality in remuneration. The ordinance ensures that men and women are paid equally for the same or similar work. There is no discrimination based on gender, especially in hiring. Advisory committees will be formed to promote job opportunities for women. The ordinance was issued to coincide with the global celebration of International Women's Year. Before heading to the Act, let's clarify a few important definitions under this Act. Man and woman mean male and female human beings, respectively, of any age. Remuneration means the basic salary or wage, plus any extra payments, in cash or kind, that an employee receives for the work they do, as long as they meet the terms of their job contract, whether written or not. Same work or work of a similar nature means work that requires the same skill, effort, and responsibility, done under similar working conditions by a man or a woman. Any differences between the work done by them are too minor to matter when it comes to employment terms. This Act will apply even if it conflicts with any other law, agreement, contract, or award, whether made before or after this Act came into effect. The second chapter states the duty of employer to ensure equal pay for equal work. An employer must not pay a worker less than a worker of the opposite sex for doing the same work or work of a similar nature, whether the pay is given in cash or kind. To comply with equal pay provisions, the employer cannot reduce anyone's salary. That is, an employer must not lower the pay of a worker just to match it with that of another worker of the opposite sex. If, before this law came into force, men and women doing the same or similar work were paid different rates based on gender, then the higher rate, or highest, if more than two rates existed, must become the standard rate. This higher rate must be paid to both men and women doing the same or similar work from the date the Act begins. Next significant clause is that, from the commencement of this Act, no employer shall discriminate against women during recruitment for the same work or work of a similar nature, or in any condition of service after recruitment such as promotions, training, or transfers, except where the employment of women is prohibited or restricted by any existing law. Provided that this section does not affect any priority or reservation for scheduled castes, scheduled tribes, ex-servicemen, retrenched employees, or any other class or category of persons in recruitment to posts in an establishment or employment. To promote increased employment opportunities for women, the appropriate government shall form one or more advisory committees to advise on the extent to which women may be employed in establishments or employments specified by the central government through notification. Each advisory committee must have at least 10 nominated members, with half of them being women. Next, let's discuss role and powers of inspectors under the Act. The appropriate government may appoint inspectors through an official notification. These inspectors are responsible for investigating whether employers are complying with the provisions of the Act and the rules framed under it. The government may also specify the geographical limits within which an inspector can carry out investigations. Every inspector shall be considered a public servant as per Section 21 of the Indian Penal Code, 1860. Within their assigned area, an inspector is empowered to enter, at a reasonable time, any building, factory, premises, or vessel, with necessary assistance. Ask any employer to produce registers, muster rolls, or other documents related to worker employment and inspect these. Record evidence either on the spot or elsewhere, to check if the provisions of the Act are being followed. Examine the employer, their agent or servant, or any person in charge of the establishment, or anyone believed to be a worker. Make copies or take extracts from any register or document kept under this Act. Any person asked by an inspector to provide a register, document, or information must comply with the request. This section outlines actions by an employer that constitute an offense under or by virtue of this Act, specifically relating to records, documentation, and cooperation with authorities. The following acts are considered violations. If the employer omits or fails to maintain required registers or documents related to workers employed in their establishment. The employer omits or fails to produce upon demand any such register, muster roll, or document concerning the employment of workers. The employer omits or refuses to give evidence, or actively prevents their agent, servant, or any worker or person in charge of the establishment from giving evidence. The employer omits or refuses to provide information required under the provisions of the Act. He shall be punishable with simple imprisonment for a term which may extend to 1 month or with fine which may extend to 10,000 rupees or with both. Secondly, if, after the commencement of this Act, any employer makes any recruitment in contravention of the provisions of his Act, or makes any payment or remuneration at unequal rates to men and women worker for the same work or work of a similar nature, or makes any discrimination between men and women workers in contravention of the provisions of this Act, or omits or fails to carry out any direction made by the appropriate government. Under subsection 5 of Section 6. He shall be punished with a fine of at least 10,000 Indian rupees, up to 20,000 Indian rupees, or imprisonment for at least 3 months, up to 1 year, or both for the first offense. For second or later offenses, imprisonment may extend up to 2 years. There are few exceptions to this Act. A. When a woman's employment terms are affected to meet the requirements of a law that gives special treatment to women. B. When special treatment is given to women for the birth or expected birth of a child. Terms related to retirement, marriage, or death, or any related benefits. Thanks for watching. Like, share and subscribe to my channel for more such content.